Over the telephone by our guest for this afternoon, Dr. Yomn Hamaky, Professor of Economics. Dr. Yomn, a very good afternoon to you, ma'am, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for your time. And of course, today we're discussing the recent visit by the Romanian Prime Minister to Egypt. How do you see the importance of such a visit and the timing of this visit, especially with so much regarding bilateral ties and cooperation on an economic level as well between Egypt and Romania?
Actually, I see it quite important. Romania is representing an important country as a member of EU, and Egypt is having a partnership with Europe. So we need to enhance our relations, economic relations with the EU countries, and we have a lot of potentialities regarding trade and investment that we need actually to elaborate. If we refer to the figure of trade between the two countries, it doesn't exceed $1.1 billion, which is quite minimal compared to the potentialities of enhancing trade. So it's quite important to have a B2B, business-to-business, meetings, and this is what's going to happen in this visit. Officials as well as businessmen and women should discuss the potentialities of mutual trade and investment. And all the time there is a strong relationship between investment and trade, which means that if we succeed to enhance intra-investment between the two countries, actually this will be reflected on the size of trade. And as our Prime Minister mentioned, that there is a lot of potentialities regarding importing food as well as exporting fertilizers and other petrochemicals in which, we can it's going to be of mutual benefit between the two countries, but still a lot of potentialities that need to be addressed properly by referring to studies regarding how to integrate our comparative advantage as the two countries and find the potentialities of investment. We have very good potentialities regarding private-public partnerships in which Romania can participate in industrialization by referring to the modules of PPP. So this is a potential that businessmen and women in Romania need to know, and to know the potentialities, taking into consideration nowadays that we have a lot of challenges regarding the Russian-Ukrainian war, and to how extent, we can benefit from the partnership between Europe and Egypt.
Absolutely. Now, Dr. Yomn, a very important issue that you mentioned, and that is a consequence of the recent global climate, is the issue of the global food crisis. And there have been some discussions with Romania with regards to overcoming such an issue, as well as things related to grain imports, etc. How important is this kind of agreement with Romania in light of the current global food crisis, not just for Egypt, but for other African countries as well?
Yes, you know that Egypt is the largest importer of wheat, and due to that, we need to diversify our sources of importing wheat. And since we have been concentrating actually on Ukraine and Russia as a main source of importing wheat, and nowadays we have challenges regarding that, so we are trying as Egypt to diversify these sources by referring to Indian wheat, and then nowadays we are discussing with Romania. So this is quite important in order to reduce the size of subsidies. We are subsidizing our bread, and this is quite important in Egypt to address poverty, and from here it comes the importance of trying to rationalize the cost of importing wheat and by diversifying sources of importation. So Romania can play a significant role as a provider of wheat for Egypt with less price compared to other sources. So this is quite important. But from my point of view, the importance should overcome that into other areas of industrialization and localization of technology. In light of that, several industries nowadays in Europe are transferring into developing countries, and we are in deep need for that to transfer technology. Since in Egypt we are having industrialization, but still this industrial sector is still relying on importation to a large extent. So we need to enhance our potentialities and capabilities in the value chain of industrialization and to increase the local content of our industrial sector.
Absolutely. Doctor, a final question, if I may. Now, Egypt has been, diversifying its relations with many, many countries around the world, especially with regards to economic cooperation. And also, we've seen, on the other hand, there's been development between the Egyptian-Hungarian relations, also agreements between Egypt and Hungary in several issues and investment opportunities. How important do you see this, diversification to other countries that, before were not really partners with regards to economic collaboration with Egypt?
Actually, I need to pinpoint something very important. When we had this partnership with Europe, we started by when the EU countries started to include the East European countries.
Yes.
There were a lot of studies in Egypt that we are going to face a competition from Eastern European countries since they are relying on the agriculture sector, and this could affect seriously our export to the EU of agricultural products. Still, we need to build our comparative advantage, because like what we are discussing nowadays, to export fertilizers with less cost to Romania and Hungary, and by that we can contemplate our comparative advantage in different fields so that we can achieve food security as well as transfer of technology and participate in the value chain. Because these challenges confronting the value chain after COVID, you see, has addressed the importance of nearshoring, which means that countries on a regional level should compete each other in the value chain so that they can reduce cost of production and enhance and reduce the risk of disruption of the value chain. And this is what we should work on it, and our relations with Romania and Hungary can play a significant role, as well as other European countries.
Right, absolutely. Dr. Yomn El Hamaky, Professor of Economics, thank you so much, ma'am, for your time and your insight.